Alright guys, sorry I couldn't be in today. I am going to walk you through the lesson that we were going to do today. It's on dividing. Pretty much if you understood yesterday's lesson, this should go relatively smoothly. So when you're dividing, again, you can't leave a radical in the denominator, but what's going to be different today is you're going to have a binomial in the bottom. So you're going to have like 3 plus radical 7, like the first example where you have a radical on the bottom. So to get rid of it, you have to multiply by, if you remember what we did yesterday, that cancels it out. We have to multiply by the conjugate. So that's what we're going to do today when we have the binomial on the bottom, more than one part on the bottom. So on this first problem, I need to multiply by 3 minus radical 7. And whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Again, the conjugate, like we talked about yesterday, has to be the opposite sign. So always make sure you're trying to do the opposite sign of what's on the bottom. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and distribute on the top. It's going to turn into 18 minus 6 radical 7. Now on the bottom, you can FOIL it if you want to. You can do the long way, or you can do the shortcut that we talked about. Remember, the shortcut when you have conjugates is to do a squared minus b squared. So you can do 3 squared minus radical 7 squared. So the top is going to stay the same. We can't combine those. One has a radical, one doesn't. But the bottom turns into 9 minus 7. So it's really 18 minus 6 radical 7 over 2. And the last step is to reduce here. Please make sure that you divide both of these by 2. So if it helps, separate them first. And then divide both parts by 2. So it's going to be 9 minus 3 radical 7. So that's your answer for the first one. Let's try another one. So on this next one, again, the focus is the bottom. We can't leave the bottom like it is, so we have to get rid of it, the radical on the bottom. The only thing that's going to get rid of it when there's a binomial is to use the conjugate. So the conjugate's going to be 1 plus radical 5 for this one. You just got to change the operation sign. It's the only thing that changes. This one on the top, we're going to have to do what we did yesterday. You're going to have to FOIL those together. So the first is going to be 3. The outside is going to be plus 3 radical 5. The inside is plus 1 radical 5. And then the last is radical 5 times radical 5, which is just 5. The bottom, again, you can use the shortcut. The shortcut when you have the conjugates, you can only use it when you have conjugates, is a squared minus b squared. So it'd be 1 squared minus, it's always a minus sign, radical 5 squared. On the top, we can combine some like terms there. That's 8 plus 4 radical 5. And then on the bottom, we have 1 minus 5, because the radical and the 5, the radical and the squared cancel over radical 5. So then we have 8 plus 4 radical 5 over negative 4, which is 8 divided by negative 4, and 4 radical 5 divided by negative 4. So we get negative 2 plus radical 5. Nope, minus radical 5, sorry. I didn't pay attention to my negative at the bottom. So it should be, they both should turn out to be negative because of the negative 4. So that's your answer for that one. Let's try it. If you want to take a second and pause the video and try this one on your own, that's what I would have had you do in class. So if you want to pause it, take a minute, see if you can work it out, and then check it. That would be my suggestion. That'll help you with your learning. So again, we're supposed to be multiplying the bottom by the conjugate. The conjugate would be 3 minus radical 6. Whatever you do to the bottom, got to do the same thing to the top. And then we're going to FOIL. So the first is 27. The outside is minus 9 radical 6. Watch your signs here. The inside is plus 3 radical 6. And the last would be just minus 6. Radical 6 times radical 6 is just 6. All over the bottom is going to be 3 squared minus radical 6 squared. So on the top, if we combine there, we're going to get 21 minus 6 radical 6 over 9 minus 6. We get 21 minus 6 radical 6 over 3. And then again, just make sure you divide both of them by 3. It's going to be 7 minus 2 radical 6. So hopefully you paused it, you tried that, you got that, and it makes sense. We're going to look at one more that's a little bit more complicated. Alright, so this last one gets a little bit more complicated because now I'm throwing a number in front of the radical, so just the FOILing is going to be a little bit trickier here. So still using the conjugate to try and get rid of that binomial on the bottom. We multiply by 4 plus 2 radical 3. Notice I just changed the sign to make it the conjugate. Whatever you do the bottom, do the top. And then we're going to have to FOIL out the top. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 2 radical 3 is going to be 6 radical 3. 4 times 5 radical 3 is 20 radical 3. And then this last part, if you need to write it out, sometimes that helps me. 5 radical 3 times 2 radical 3. The 5 and the 2 is going to make 10, and then radical 3 and radical 3 is going to make just 3. So the last part's going to be 30. And the bottom's going to be 4 squared minus, it's always minus, 2 radical 3 squared. A squared minus b squared. So on the top, I'm going to get 42 plus 26 radical 3. Then the bottom's going to turn into 16 minus, when you square this, please make sure, we talked about this yesterday, square both parts. You're going to get 4 times 3, which is 12. And then we're going to have 42 plus 26 radical 3 over 4. And then this one, we can't divide all of those by 4. We can only reduce by 2. So that's all you're going to want to do, reduce by 2. Either split it apart and reduce by 2, or just notice that's what you can reduce them all by, but that's all you can do here. So it's 21 plus 13 radical 3 over 2. Alright, I hope that helps. Your homework is a worksheet. Please spend the rest of the class time working on that, and we will talk tomorrow. Thanks. Have a great day, guys.